Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Slay to Success Talk Show. My name is Rochelle, Slay Queen Hemingway, CEO and founder of Slay to Success. I advise and empower women professionals, especially women veterans, to step up into their most authentic personal brand to attract lucrative opportunities. And we are focusing specifically on 4 areas: appearance, behaviors, communications, and your digital presence. Because when we can master those 4 areas, I am a true believer that we can attain whatever we desire and deserve. And so we are starting with the slay philosophies. That's right. The word slay means to kill it, to dominate it, and to nail it, to be on point, to impress greatly, to dream big and work hard until you own it. It is also an acronym that stands for Universal Life and Leadership Philosophies that really resonate with me the most. And I know they resonate with you because you're here on this show in this space. And it stands for Stay Ready to Be Ready, Lead Out Loud, a sense of community, and you are built to last. So on this show, y'all, I bring in slay-mazing men and women who are using the slay philosophies to make an impact and a difference in this world, and they're doing it on their own terms. So as you come in to the show, please make sure that you let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from, so that way we can give you a proper shout out. Okay. And to let you know, hey, we love that you stopped here, and you could be anywhere else, but you decided to spend some time with us tonight, because this is going to be a conversation that is not only going to be a great conversation, but it's also very timely. Okay, my guest is going to be sharing some gems, okay, for anyone who is looking to transition from the military into the corporate world. This is a place, this is the show that you want to come in and listen in on. And if you come back into the replay, just put in hashtag replay so we know that you stopped through as well. So I am a professional keynote speaker, an image consultant, a personal brand expert, an author of several books, of course, your talk show host, and a proud United States Air Force veteran of 30 years. And when I retired, I decided to do all kinds of things, y'all. Okay. But this show here was one of the very first things that I did to start Slay to Success. All right, y'all. So our guest tonight, all right, has a very extensive background. Okay. Now, his name is Mark Cheeks, and he is a distinguished retired Air Force veteran, and an accomplished cybersecurity executive with a remarkable career spanning over 41 years. With more than 21 years of dedicated service in the United States Air Force, Mark developed a strong foundation in leadership, strategic planning, and technical expertise. His military career not only instilled a deep sense of discipline and commitment, but also ignited his passion for protecting information systems and fostering security protocols. Following his honorable service, Mark transitioned seamlessly into the corporate world, where he spent over 20 years at Lockheed Martin as a cybersecurity executive. In this role, he played a pivotal part in developing and implementing advanced security measures that safeguarded the integrity of critical information systems with global outreach and impact. His expertise and innovative approaches not only enhance corporate security, but also set industry standards for best practices in cybersecurity. Now, recognizing these unique challenges that veterans face when we transition, all right, from corporate careers, Mark founded Mark Cheeks Speaks LLC, which is a dedicated platform aimed at empowering military veterans as they navigate this significant life change. And through personalized career coaching, tailored training programs, and strategic networking opportunities, his organization bridges the gap between military service and civilian success. Mark's mission is to honor the commitment of veterans by unlocking their potential, fostering their leadership qualities, and championing their contributions to a thriving corporate workforce. Now, he has a multitude of other accomplishments that we are going to speak to while we are on the show. So please put your hands together for my friend, my brothers in arms, okay, Mark Cheeks.
Well,
How
thank
you
you, thank you,
doing?
thank you. Hey, Rochelle. Good to be here. Man, that was nice.
Yeah. Listen, that's all you.
Yes,
That's
that's what,
you.
I wish my family was here to hear all that because I oftentimes tell them as humbly as I know how, I'm kind of a big deal. They
Yeah, right.
just blow me off. They just
Yeah,
blow me off and tell me, hey, go get the
you're a big
trash.
deal. I'm just saying, if you can, spend over 20 years in the Air Force
Hmm.
and then do another 20 years in, corporate, like that right there in itself, and start a business, like, let's go. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
This is absolutely amazing. So, first, okay, for all y'all that are going to be coming here into the show and you're listening in, we met on LinkedIn
Right,
actually, and it was through a comment. And it, listen, if y'all not on LinkedIn, hey LinkedIn, okay, if you're not on LinkedIn and you have a business or you want to do networking or you're expanding your opportunities, please make sure that you create a profile on LinkedIn, because that's how we met. And from there, we have participated in several events for the Veterans Grow in America, and we got a
right,
chance to see each other in person. And so, y'all, I asked and I said, hey, let's get on this show.
right, right.
Okay. So, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, like kind of where you grew up, what made you go into the Air Force? Kind of give us a
Absolutely.
little bit of background.
Absolutely. But before I start down that path, let me just back to what you stated about the whole LinkedIn piece
Oh, yeah.
and what I end up doing. And after seeing you on LinkedIn and all the amazing things that you're doing, it's like, wow, I got to reach out and see if I could have a virtual cup of coffee. And you were gracious enough to answer and say, hey, yeah, let's get together and have a 15-minute call. And we did. And here we are today. So to stamp on your point, this is really what you need to do and get out and have those conversations and use the tool as it's intended. So really,
Absolutely.
again, appreciate our relationship that we have now and the big things that we're going to do going forward.
That's right, because y'all, we doing big things. So you better be following
Plan
us.
it. So to answer your question, I am originally from Muskegon, Michigan, which is on the west side of Michigan, west side,
West
about
Side.
halfway up the state. Born and raised there, and I actually my first assignment was I came back to Michigan. I was stationed at Wardsmith, which is since closed, but was about 4 hours away from home for me, which was a great start. Still, I had that foundation that I could get to within 4 hours, but I was able to sort of grow and become myself too, because I started my Air Force career. I actually met my wife, Carol. We've been married for 36 years now.
Wow.
Met her, yeah, while I was on my way to Spangdahlem, Germany. She was going to a business college there in my hometown. So a friend introduced me to my wife, and we again have been together for 36 years now. We have a son, Cameron, who is a senior at Virginia Tech, and we are really excited about the great things that he's doing and excited about his future. And let's see, what else? Again, 20 years within the Air Force, 21 years within the Air Force, and did multiple careers. I had multiple careers while I was in the Air Force. I actually started out in security forces and then moved into personnel. After that, the .com era had started. So I moved over, retrained again, and went into personnel systems management, which gave me that IT background. I was doing database management at that time, and then finished up in San Antonio at the headquarters for Air Force Recruiting Service, doing market research there in that organization. So multiple disciplines that I worked in, and it's part of what I talk about when I'm having conversations with clients as well. Sort of finding your niche, finding your passion, and going in that direction. Uh,
Yeah.
After leaving the Air Force, took about 30 days to decompress, and then hit the road with Lockheed Martin. and started Lockheed Martin in Grand Prairie, Texas, just outside of Dallas. Did probably 11 years there, then moved here to Virginia. I'm about 45 minutes west of DC in Haymarket, Virginia. And I just finished my Lockheed Martin career this past November. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And
Yes.
so after that, and I think Lockheed Martin was what really settled for me the foundation, or established the foundation for the Mark Cheeks Speaks, because I knew when I came into Lockheed Martin back in 2004 how I felt. And as I progressed through the management levels at Lockheed and bringing on other military members, I understood the struggles that they were having as well. So I started this company probably 3 years ago, and really now just getting into it full time and trying to help as many veterans, military members as I can.
Wow. You know, what you are sharing is so remarkable because, first of all, you said, hey, Air Force, you had several disciplines there, and that you took those to Lockheed Martin and then, you know, made transferable, all right, because these are transferable skills that sometimes us as military, you know, veterans, we don't really understand that they do play a part into whatever we're going to do next. And then you decided, hey, based on what you experienced, that you were going to create a business surrounding that. And I think more and more so now, this is kind of the appetite that folks have, is that pain, right? Whatever we had, and how can we help others to avoid that pain? So I just wanted to go ahead and let our audience members know that we see them. So Chevy, thank you so much for being here tonight with us. Claudia is here. Claudia Garcia from Austin, Texas. We've got Lindsay, and she says congratulations, and she's here from Maryland as well.
Awesome.
Yes, and then we have, wait a minute, we international.
We're global. We're doing it global.
We are global right now. Hello
Yeah.
from Ghana.
Wow.
#Slay. How you doing? Thank you so much. And she or he, whoever this is from LinkedIn. Okay, so we just talked about that platform is allowing people, any of these platforms really allow you, but LinkedIn allows us to get really extension and more reach. So I absolutely want to say congratulations on your achievements so far. And hey, and Donnell's here. Look, everybody coming up, pulling up. Okay, so hey,
Yeah, all
Donnell,
right.
what's going on? So you know, your experience, okay, I want you to kind of tease that out a little bit about your experience from the military to Lockheed Martin, and what were those pain points, or what were you experiencing that you had probably no idea about, and then had to figure out how to navigate through that?
Right. Because it's well, first I think my first day at Lockheed Martin, pulling up to my cube and thinking, wow, what's next? You know, where is the Air Force instruction that I've been so accustomed to pulling out and giving me direction and showing me how to make it happen? That's no longer. It's now policies and procedures and in the corporate things that go along with that. So it was a whole transition and understanding the culture as well, right? Because anyone who has spent time in the military, whether it's 4 years or it's 21 plus, like you and I have spent extensive amounts of time, there is that structure, right, that you have been under for such a long period of time, that you have to get away from. And it's not that corporate America doesn't want what we bring to the table. They absolutely want everything that military members bring to the table, but they don't want the uniform. So you got to make sure that you're taking that uniform off, right, and reshaping and reframing all those talents and skills that you have acquired through your military service, and being able to incorporate them into the corporate space. So that was, I guess, the first pain point. And oftentimes, and I know in my corporate career, I would make sure that I would assign to those who are just joining my organization, assign them a mentor, a buddy, someone who could sort of, hey, I'm your person, right, to answer any
Right.
question that you have. But when you come from the military, if that person isn't or hasn't had that military experience, they may not know how to really help you along, right? How to help
Mm,
you transform and reshape and again reframe all of those things that you need to do to be successful in the corporate space and be able to answer, some of the simple questions, right, that you may have. How does or the upper progression or promotion? How does that all work? It's a lot different in the military space as than within the corporate space. So just a lot of nuances that if you have somebody that has been a military member, they've been in the corporate space for a little while, they can answer the questions, and that's what I'm doing, right? That's what I'm
yeah.
providing that service.
Yeah. Man, so you y'all, please, if you got some comments that you want to share or something that is, you want to ask, this is the time to do that. But I got a lot of questions. Okay.
Mhm.
So first of all, you said they want you, but they don't want that uniform.
No.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so what and for those that haven't served in the military, it's very conforming, and it's can be rigid at times, and
Mhm.
there's some reasons for that. But what were some of the behaviors, and we'll say behaviors, that even though we were conditioned to have those things because that's what made us successful in the military,
Mhm.
what were those behaviors that you had to adjust when you went into the corporate world?
Definitely could not be as direct as I
Mm,
was in the military space, right? It's a kinder, gentler environment, so you have to understand that and be able to communicate on that level, um, because it really, I think that is the first thing that you have to understand. If you get that wrong, then you've set yourself up for failure, and that
wow.
sort of goes into what you're doing as well, the whole branding piece, right? What
Yeah.
is your brand going to be now that you're in this new space? And if I come in and I'm telling, people are expecting them to click their heels together as I did while I was in the military, salute me smartly, sir, that's not going to work so well for you. It does not. So I had to get all beyond that and just help, understand that they don't understand the military that I came from or the structure and how I had to operate for the previous 21 years. So I
Right.
had to calm it down a lot. Um, I think understanding that you have a voice in the corporate space as well, because in the
Mm,
military, and again, you're sort of directed to do this, you're directed to do that to make sure that you're taking care of a particular mission or whatever it may be, but not so much in the corporate space. They want you to engage, they want you to be involved, they want you to give your opinion, your thoughts, because ultimately this is going to make the company better, right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Rich is here. Rich is not. We got all the veterans in the house today. Okay. Hey, Rich, and he said facts. Okay. So
Right. Facts.
yeah, I mean, because we were so used, I mean, especially when you are achieving success in the military, those higher ranks, we had to be very direct. We had to make sure that people were following the orders. We had to make sure that people were in line, if you will. And
Hmm.
that adjustment of, hey, don't tell me what to do, because that's really, I saw that with my dad. My dad transitioned after 23 years in the Air Force, and he went into Delphi Electronics, and
Mm.
he was upset every single day, I swear, for at least 10 years because
Then,
he did not adjust. He was in there trying to tell folks what to do, and then he was like, these people don't listen,
right,
and I have all the answers, and it was a whole situation.
right.
And looking back at that time period, I really saw that he was struggling, like the emotions behind not being able to do what he had been trained to do for so long in a different space,
Right. Right.
you know?
Man, that's
And
good. Yeah.
yeah, and it's quite interesting that, there's, and I wouldn't say there isn't anyone, but the tendency is for you to figure it out on your own.
Hmm.
You know, the other thing that I have seen, and I don't know if you've seen this, I've seen when people are bouncing around from one job to the next, you know, they'll go into the corporate world, they find a job, but it's not fitting for them. And then they just, you know, it's like 4 or 5 jobs later. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I feel like there is, you know, some of these nuances, like you said, of
Hmm.
really not understanding the culture.
Right.
So what was the culture of Lockheed Martin, as compared to the culture of the military, that you could specifically talk through, that you had to find out?
Yeah. So with Lockheed Martin being a defense contractor, it was almost like a natural progression to leave the military and then to come into a corporate organization like Lockheed. And they welcome veterans because we know the jargon, we know how the military operates. So it's a win-win for everybody. But not everybody at Lockheed Martin has had the military experience, right?
Mm,
So you really have to understand your audience when we talk about Lockheed in particular. So I would have conversations with people who I know who have had military experience, and we would be able to share the war stories. And I've been here and you've been there. Oh wow, we were there at the same time. But we would have others who had not had that experience,
mm,
and it would not be inclusive to them. So you could see in body language and facial expressions that, wow, they're talking this military thing again, and I can't play a part,
yeah.
right? So I had to understand that, and that's one of the things, and I make sure that I articulate to my clients. Make sure you know your audience, right? It's
Yeah.
okay to share your stories, but not everybody wants to hear your military experience. Again, not everybody wants to see your military or wear your uniform. And the other thing that oftentimes we as military members, we get stuck on rank and position, and not often is that the case so much in the corporate space.
Mm,
Everybody is first name, right? So that's how the culture. You really have to understand the different cultures, and the cultures are different depending upon where you're going. So
yeah.
I've got clients at Amazon, and it's a whole different than it is at Lockheed Martin. I've got clients in the banking industry, and that's a whole nother. And a lot of these Amazon, an example, and many of those folks, they don't have anything to do with the military or had anything to do, or the company didn't have anything to do with the military. So it's not that, that hey, we can have these stories because a lot of the military members are share the same experiences. So
Yeah.
it's different, right? You just have to really be observant, take the time to be more eyes and ears opposed to mouth when you initially get into an organization and find out how it's moving.
Yeah, that's all good, because I do know that if my dad had you by his side, he wouldn't have had nearly half the issues that he was having. I was just like, Dad, you just can't go in there and tell folks. And,
Right.
and even like pay, because they let all the senior leaders go, and he was working on his severance pay, and that was the first time that I had ever heard of this concept. you know that he
Mhm.
had to work through to kind of get his his pay, that he thought, and he said I deserve, and I agree, he needed more money to compensate for them to let him go early. But that's another side note, for sure. But I do want to go back to leadership, and I want to talk to you specifically about this, because I think this too goes true for how we take care of people in the military versus how we take care of people when we're in the corporate space. Now, I haven't worked in the corporate space before, but I know
Mhm.
a lot of my friends who are. And they tell me there's some drastic changes between those two, right?
Right.
We were in people's business when we were in the military. Like, I know I
Right.
was. I was like, can you meet this mission? What we got going
Right.
on behind the scenes here? All right.
Right. Right.
So, what is that like in the corporate world?
Oh, it's a 180, right? Because you, Hey, you can't roll up in everybody's business. You just you can't. No, and you got to be very careful about that because you're going to end up at HR. You're going to end up being sued. And with Lockheed, I have been sued. Just putting it out there from employees, and not so much just getting in their business, but it's just the whole sensitivities that employees will bring out sometimes and have an agenda oftentimes. But yeah, it's no, it's no. You got to be very, very careful in your approach. And I think it's also when we talk about the leadership is knowing you, and that's leadership across the board, knowing your people, right?
Yeah.
Who who is going to be willing to really share with you, or who is going to be like, I'm gonna hold this close to the vest. This is the problem. I need you to help me with it, but this is the only information I'm going to share with you, right? And
Yeah.
so it's and I think a lot of that comes from experience, right? And in doing it and just having the different challenges that are presented and walking through them and putting them in your toolbox for later.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I do. I do know that from some of my friends when they talk to me about being in that space. It's like, you can't just be rolling up on folks and just be like, hey, where were you? And what's up with these kids? And,
Right.
what's your husband doing? And stuff like
No.
that.
No.
Because, I was a first sergeant for 4 years, and so
Hmm.
I can get into
Oh yeah.
and figure out what is happening in a matter of seconds, right?
Right.
But when you're in that space, there are, like, again, these cultural sensitivities
Hmm.
that you have to be mindful of, and it also requires you to have a different mindset,
Right.
you
Right.
know. So what would you offer to anyone who is looking to transition some generalized, insights onto mindset and shifting into that space?
Onto mindset. So again, I think you just have to realize that this is new. This is different, and
Mhm.
transitioning, no matter what it is, oftentimes can be difficult, right? So just wrap your head around, hey, this is going to be different. I need to accept it, find out where I fit and how I could be the most productive in this new space with my transition, and understand that the old way of doing business oftentimes will work, but you got to reshape and reframe it. And much like what you talked about with your dad and giving direction, it's not so much direction, it's just coaching, right? I had to
Yeah.
learn that I had to coach. I had to ask, hey, can you help me out here? And this is why I'm asking you to help me because I know you're a superstar at doing A, B, C, and D. And when you get done with it, we're all going to shine.
Yeah.
Opposed to saying, hey, go do A, B, and C, and I'll see you in 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So all of that has to. It was just again experience and the understanding that this is different. This is a different space.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
at any point, did you think or say to yourself, hey, this ain't working for me? And, did you ever have that come across your mind at all?
Man, that's a great question because one of the other things that I oftentimes talk about with my clients is what is your actual or what is your passion and what is your superpower. So this 20 years that I spent, and don't tell anybody, but this is between us. This 20 years that I spent as a cyber executive and professional, I don't think that I really got up not one time and said, "Man, I can't wait to get to like that keyboard. I can't wait to lock down this system. I can't wait to establish these protocols. I can't the ones and zeros. I just can't wait. I was never that excited about it.
Mm,
But the byproduct of me having a team, a large team, was the leadership piece.
yeah.
And that's what I love, right? That's
Yeah.
what I found that I love. So I say all this to say oftentimes when you come out of the military, many of us go into career fields this we just put into that career field because the numbers needed us, right? And we never
Mhm.
really loved it. Security
Mhm.
forces, some love it, some of us did not love it.
Mm-mm.
Right? Some of us did not love being in Cheyenne, Wyoming, out on the missile field, in the missile
No.
field. It just wasn't really what I wanted to do, right?
Right.
But I found through the leadership that I could or being a leader, that I could take that part of it and still, hey, I'll do it. But I'm really enjoying this leadership piece and helping others advance and take care of their families and resolving problems and issues and then those types of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You have to, and Chevy said it right before even Chevy. You know what time it is, Queen.
Yeah.
You have to do what you love.
You have to do what you
Absolutely.
love. Yeah. And find a way to do that. You something again, it may not be what you're actually doing, but something within that realm, you may find that, oh man, I really love this. And
Yeah,
then you put yourself in that, and that's your superpower. That's my superpower. I love the leadership piece.
yeah. Now Chevy also served 22 years in the Air Force, and so
Mm-hmm.
she said some people love services and some didn't, but she did. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and that's I think that's with any job or any career that you have. And I absolutely agree with what you said. You do have to find the thing. There is
Mm-hmm.
that one thing that will keep you going and keep you motivated to keep showing up in that, even in the midst of uncertainty and all the things that are going on, which is happening right now for many, many people. So,
Absolutely.
this conversation that we're having right now is so timely because of folks that are in the federal space who may be under scrutiny of not having a job or being put on probation or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
So as a, transition navigator, if you
Mm-hmm.
will, if someone is, thinking about, oh my goodness, there is a possibility, what should they be doing to position themselves to go into the corporate space?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question as well. So I think finding out again what your passion is going to be, or what your passion is, what you really excel in, right? Understanding that, and then trying to align that with whatever you're going to get into in the corporate space is key, right?
Mm,
Um, I oftentimes tell my clients, and I've sort of established a roadmap, right,
mhm.
for my clients. And we're taking a journey. It's a journey. It's a road trip, figuratively speaking. It's a road trip. So when we get into the vehicle, we've gotten out of the armored vehicle and we've got into the Mercedes, which is something that's a little more street friendly. You need to have your passengers in this vehicle. So my clients, I want them to drive, right? Because I want you to take ownership of your career, and that's in anything, right? You need to take ownership. When you take ownership in it, you're going to give it more. You're going to be more involved in it.
Yep.
As a transition navigator, as you mentioned, I'm going to sit over in the passenger seat and I'm going to show you how to get to our destination, right? Because I've been on these roads, I've traveled these streets, I know some of the shortcuts, and I will be able to help navigate you through that. And you also want to grab a mentor and put that person in the back seat behind you because they know the landscape, the local landscape, right? And how to navigate within that area. And then lastly, in the last seat, you got to have somebody who's going to be a sponsor, somebody who's
Mhm.
got the toll tag and they're going to be able to open up those different doors and put you on the right track or the right expressway to get you to your destination as well. So after you nail down that job, those are the folks that you need to have with you to help you be successful as you navigate those expressways and get to your destination.
Yeah.
I hope I
Well,
answered the question. I may be a little bit off there, but yeah, I hope
no,
you
no,
answered the question.
you did. I mean, I think that's definitely part of it, to make sure you have the right people
Right.
um to be there and really understand what you're going to be getting yourself into. Because I
Mm.
think again, people pick these jobs because they see the dollar sign, okay, but they don't know the totality of
Right.
what it is. All right. And I think that too gives them that sense of like, oh, well, I didn't know, it's gonna be all like this.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meanwhile, it's just like they're very delusional about this dream job that they
Right.
were looking for, right? Now Todd is here. Hey, Todd. He said, of course, purpose is a superpower.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And also, he says, ownership is a key step. Can't rely
Hmm.
on anyone else to row for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
They've got to drive. You're absolutely right, Todd. They've got to drive, right?
Yeah. So and I think the other pieces to how, someone who is like in this uncertainty, right? Really having to make a decision. These are some heavy decisions that folks are making.
Mhm.
They're either wanting to go into another potentially federal job, a new career, and maybe become an entrepreneur like we are,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm. Right.
And we have had the fortune to have long careers. You've got two long careers, you
Right.
had two together, right? But now deciding, hey, we want to now become an entrepreneur. So tell me your journey through the Lockheed Martin. You said you had started it 3 years ago. So
Hmm.
you were working and started the business, but now you're going full time. So, what was the thought process of you starting the business while you were still with Lockheed Martin?
Right. So I had a gentleman who had come out of the Marines at the time. And again, back to my original starting with Lockheed Martin and how that was like, wow, this is something I wish I had somebody to help me navigate and get through this initial period of joining corporate space. But I also had an individual that I hired at one point, and he was a Marine, but he could not leave the Marine behind, right? Or and not necessarily even needed to leave the Marine behind, but he just couldn't uh, restructure the way he operated in the corporate space. So bringing him in, and I brought him in as a leader. Over a year, disrupted my whole team, turned it upside down, my whole team upside down.
Really?
Oh my gosh!
Not the
Oh my
Marine.
gosh! Yeah, just turned the team upside down. Conflict after conflict after
Oh,
conflict, and it was at that point that I knew maybe if I had started a business like I have now, Mark Cheeks Speaks, and was able to walk this person through what he needs to do to be successful in the corporate space, we wouldn't be here. I
mm,
wouldn't have to bring my team back together. We wouldn't have had to release this individual, and Lockheed Martin wouldn't have to pay, or with the relocation and all those things that come along with bringing somebody and putting them in the seat. All that would have not had to happen because he would have been a functioning and a high performing. He had the potential to be a high performing team member.
yeah,
But again, just not being able to manage the whole transition, and that's when I knew that hey, there's something here, right?
yeah,
This is something that people really need and can be helpful. And again, it's what we ought to do. We ought to share our experiences and help others to be successful.
absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. And the more and more, I mean, we're not old, we are matured, okay, and a
Hmm.
little bit seasoned. And
Right.
some of this knowledge and experience and expertise that we know that have been effective, you know, we do need to draw upon them. We need to be documenting. We need
Hmm.
to be sharing. We need to be educating. We need to be informing
Right.
because these principles can get lost. And his experience on your team
Yeah.
and not really understanding, there had to be a transition for him. He needed to see how he can be a part of the team.
Right.
And that's a difficult, again, it's a difficult, and it's a hard pivot sometimes to get in there and to actually be a part of a world that you had no idea about,
Hmm.
right? And then be able to be successful in that as well, because that's
Hmm.
what you're looking to do when you're in any career.
Right.
right? And so you created your business based on whatever experience that was
Right.
going on, right? And understanding that there was a gap.
Right.
There's a gap between the military service and civilian success.
Right.
And as you've navigated that, what have been some of your challenges? Because we have challenges in entrepreneurship more than ever.
Mhm. Yeah.
What have been some of your challenges since you've started Mark Cheeks Speaks?
Some don't feel that they really need the mentorship or the navigation,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And I think in this gentleman's case, that was part of it. He didn't really think that he was doing anything wrong, but
mm.
the commotion and the turmoil that was caused, um, that was proof that yeah, you do need someone to show you how to navigate this and how to get through these different situations. So that's part of it. Also, I think oftentimes people don't want to or don't feel that you have the right answers sometimes, right? So it's almost a credibility thing. And
Mm.
we've talked about the two careers that I've had, both of them over 20 years. So I know it. I've walked it. I've walked the walk, right?
Yeah,
And again had some success in it, right?
yeah,
So um, why wouldn't you want to listen to what I'm going to tell you? And I'm not trying to steer you wrong, but and it's a human nature oftentimes to so much or not to trust in some situations. So I think
yeah,
those are key in some of the problems that I've had in terms of the business, right?
yeah, yeah.
And one other thing I'll add too, and it's both sides of it, right? Because it's the individuals who have come out of the military and they're moving into this corporate space, but it's also the leaders that are bringing in these individuals who may have not served in the military or had that military experience. So training is needed for them too, so they can understand what I need to do to get the most out of this person or help them to
Mm,
be all that they can be, right,
yeah.
in this new corporate space. So I work with both sides of the table to bring it all together and make sure that everybody's happy and being successful.
Yeah, I think that is definitely a true statement because I've seen on even on LinkedIn where people are saying that they also help with that of understanding the military members' experiences,
Right,
understanding what they may be going through as they are transitioning. What can you provide? What kind of resources can you provide to assist them through that? Because it's significant, you
right,
know.
right,
Now Chevy does say here though, which she's absolutely right. Some military members don't know how to fully transition from the military to civilian life. I'm
right.
just saying, you know what I mean? I think
Hmm.
that again, because of the conditioning, the
Hmm.
hard conditioning that we had, some of us don't want to release this. And I and I know like all my veterans, love my veterans, but I realized that this was something when I was a command chief at Ellsworth. And, we're walking around and so forth. And I would have all of these retirees on the base, visiting all the facilities and all this others. And, wearing the hats with the pins on them, the jackets, and the whole thing, right? And they would bombard me. Okay. Like, because I'm in there and they see me and they're like, oh, chief, and it would just be straight up military talk. There would be nothing else. And so I could see that they were having some difficulties. And
Right.
even when the pandemic hit,
Mm.
look, I I was like, y'all, y'all been out for like 30 years or so, and in here and just creating a lot of just it was craziness. It was a
Yeah.
lot of craziness, right?
Yeah.
But because they haven't fully transitioned out of the military to really experience the civilian life. Now, when I retired, I was like, I want to know what's out here.
Right.
I'm listen, I'm trying to explore all the edges and really figure out where I fit in and how I respond two different scenarios
Hmm.
because I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
Right. So I think that's also a piece in the navigation part too, is to have, this idea of, let me just be open. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's, let me just be open to whatever is going on out here. Like, I'm gonna be a sponge and I'm gonna
Right.
soak this stuff on in. And I learned too, less talking.
Yep.
Like, and I always ask myself, why am I talking? Why am I talking? There's no reason why I should be talking. I should be doing a whole lot of listening here
Right.
because I can get a lot of information that I
Exactly.
wouldn't otherwise know.
Hmm.
And networking. So let's talk about networking
Hmm.
because I know networking in the corporate space is a thing.
Oh yeah.
All right. Military was not a thing.
No, no. We really in the military we didn't have to because we had our teams, right, and we were operating within those teams. But much like I mentioned earlier, hey, we're in this Benz and we're going down the street and I got my passengers. Those are networking situations. You have to find out who is going to be the sponsor for you that's going to open the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's a matter of you going out and finding that person. Sometimes that person finds you because they see the things that you're doing and how you're operating. And they say, okay, yeah, I think this is going to be good for our organization. So let me go and let them know I'm the person that can open the doors for them. But
Yeah.
that all of that takes place. And um, again, it speaks to branding too, right? You don't want to be that person that your brand is, hey, when I see Mark Cheeks coming down the hallway, I don't want to engage, right? I don't want to engage with him because I know it's going to be some negativity. It's going to be something that is not going to help make me or put me in a positive state, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of ensuring that you create the brand that you really want to be, and then you get out and you network, right? You make these develop these relationships, create these relationships, and invest in them. So
Yes.
and you never know who knows who. And I found in the corporate space, right? This person knows that person, who in turn knows that person, who is the key holder to your next promotion.
Yep.
So it's definitely about networking.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in it. There is a
Mhm.
power in that. Okay, so we've got a comment and then we got a question. So Todd's comment here first is, I hired a business coach a year after retirement and 100% transitioned my mindset from understanding military success versus business success. I found it will be more difficult for some than others, and unfortunately, some will not fully transition mentally. My
Mhm.
best advice is to find someone who will ignite your curiosity again, and a transition coach can walk you through that.
Absolutely.
Yes, because me and Todd have had several interactions, and we talk frequently. We talk about this all the time. Some of
Mhm.
our peers, don't really understand that there has to be a hard shift. You can't think like we were walking on water when they had our EPRs, all right?
Mhm.
Because that's just the way that that system was designed. But in business, it's about relationships. It's
Right.
about networking, and really to the extent it's not about who you know, it's about who knows you.
Right. Right.
So, and that's when we talk. Go ahead.
Is your name being mentioned in those conversations? Right.
Absolutely.
Are you the one that they're talking about when these different projects are happening, or when they're talking about the promotions and advancements? Or is your name one of those that is being brought to the table? That has to happen. That has to
Yeah,
happen in order for you to progress. So that is definitely
absolutely.
key. Right.
Yeah, I got that from Nat Alston, who has been in business and in the corporate space and sheriff. He is 78 years old and he provides sound wisdom now. And it's like, it's not about who you know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's not the marker anymore. Right. Especially when you're in business. And then Todd also says most critical topic is networking. First step in effective networking is releasing toxic competition.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Effective networking post-military must be highly collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. We were competing against each other for all the things,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Right. And that is so true. And in the military, we have this established rank structure, right, that you fall within, and time and grade, time and service, all these other components that come together to get you to that next promotion. Not so much in the corporate space, right? I
Yeah.
could, and we at Lockheed Martin, we went on levels, right, different levels, 1 through 10. An example, I could be a level 3, do 2 years as a level 3, move to a level 4, do a year as a level 4, and then move to a level 5. Right. So it's a whole different structure, and that whole competition. Yes, there is competition, but it's actually, again, like Todd has stated, and you have stated as well. It's who knows you and what are you doing, and who has an eye on you and says, "Hey, Mark Cheeks is going to be the best person in that role. Let's make that happen."
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. Thanks, Todd. Dropping those gems in there. Okay.
Mhm.
And Chevy got a question. Mark, what is one of the challenges you see with your clients regarding their transition?
One of the challenges, just not knowing what you don't know. And I guess that really wouldn't be a challenge. I'm going to go back to something that you talked a little bit about earlier too, Rochelle.
Mm,
Um, just the whole the salary piece.
mm,
Fortunately for me, when I got out of the military, I had an in-house corporate veteran. So my wife Carol had been in the corporate space before I got out of the military. And when I tell you that Lockheed Martin bought me my first offer letter, I thought I had hit the lottery, but I really didn't.
yeah.
My wife said, "Take that right foot and off the gas and put it on the brake, okay?" Because this is negotiable, right? We need to negotiate this.
Mm,
And those things you just don't know, right? And you coming out of the military, you may not be making, a huge amount of money, but when they put those dollars in front of your face, like, let's do it. You're ready. So
mm-hmm.
those are some of the challenges that oftentimes those who are transitioning, they just don't know. If you
Yeah.
don't have somebody there to say, hey, no, put that down for a minute, let it settle down, and then you can go back to them and say, I think my value is this, and
Mm,
oftentimes they will meet that. Then you move forward. So often it's just, oftentimes again, it's just you don't know what you don't know, right? Because
mm-hmm.
you've been in this structured environment. You've been told, hey, you can't wear fingernail polish. Hey, you got to wear your hair this way or that way. You got to wear this uniform or that uniform. All of these things are standard, right?
Yeah.
And you just don't know how you can operate within this new space. And again, that's why I really created this company to be able to drop those nuggets and help others in the transition.
Yeah. So if someone was to work with you, what does that look like?
So we would come together, and I've established and I like acronyms, much like our friend Dr. X, right? So it's the roadmap. And again, we're taking this journey. We're in the car. We're driving, and we're on this roadmap. And the R is the reshaping and reframing. Right. Well, first, we've got to reshape how you're doing things. I don't want you to leave behind what you left or you learned in the military, what you did in the military. But it's coaching. It's not directing now. And these are the different things. You got to pivot. You got to make these different pivots and still use all those experiences. As I stated, they want the experience, but they don't want the uniform.
Mm,
Then it's observing the culture, the O. You got to, that's so important to observe the culture because you want to be in alignment with this new organization. You got to understand how they're operating and how do I get in and not be disruptive. The A is applying your talents and skills. What is it that's your superpower? How do you
mm,
apply those talents and skills, right? The D is destination. It's important, and this is why so many people that are military members that get into the corporate space, and the numbers are a little bit staggering. It's 44% of military members in the first year they leave. They'll get
mm.
into a corporate job and they leave, and then within the first 1 to 2 years, 60 to 80% leave their first job and go to something different, and that's
Mm,
because they really haven't established a destination.
mm,
Quick story for me and my destination. When I retired out of San Antonio, our last Sunday at church, I was out having a conversation in the parking lot with a friend, and we were talking about my transition going to Lockheed Martin. A older gentleman who is actually me right now, he walked up, he and his wife, and they heard me talk about Lockheed Martin, and he stopped and he said, "Hey, I just retired from Lockheed Martin. Make sure that you become an executive. If you can, become an executive because all of the things that come along with being an executive at Lockheed Martin." Boom, right there. That was my destination. So
Wow.
that was my, hey, I'm putting this on the wall. This is what I want to do. This is where I want to be before I leave this company. And sure enough, it happened.
Mm.
But that sort of kept me in the seat because I was always working towards that goal. I was always
Mm-hmm.
working towards that. Hey, I want to be an executive within Lockheed Martin. So destination is the D. The M is merging. The gentleman that I talked to you about, or we talked about, the Marine, he
Yeah.
did not merge into the operational highway. We were doing 60, he was doing 80. Right? So you cause collisions when you merge into that space, and it's disruptive. So you got to understand, hey, I need to slow down, or maybe I need to speed up, but I'm going to merge in just like we all do when we're driving and we get onto the expressway. We're going to merge.
Mm-hmm.
The A is attitude. Got to have the right attitude. Again, that's part of your brand. And
Yep.
also the attitude, hey, I can do this, because that is another challenge for military members who are getting out and coming into this corporate space. Sometimes we don't feel that we're enough, that we can
Mm-hmm.
do it, right? And I have to remind my clients that you were hired to do this job because you are qualified.
Yeah.
So, hey, you can do it, right? You got to have the right attitude. And then lastly, in the whole roadmap is P, the progression. How does progression work within the corporate space? Because it's an entirely different animal, right, than with
Yeah.
the military. So all of that said, while we go through this roadmap, and the beauty of the roadmap is I can break it apart. You know, if we're having challenges with you merging into a space, and we can spend a little more time here, or
Mm.
if it's observing the culture, we can spend a little more time in the O, observing the culture. And we go through all of that. And I have some different tools. I also do a DIS assessment with a lot of my clients to understand, do you really know your personality and what your strong suit is, and
Yeah.
those types of things. So we can align that with whatever they're getting into.
Yeah, that is absolutely wonderful. All
Mhm.
right, because I think that, like you said, some folks don't think that they need it until they get in there, and you
Right.
already explained the statistics of what is happening. So they definitely need, someone who has this skill set to help them guide them along the way, so they're not thinking or feeling like, hey, I wasted my time. Because I know that's probably what some folks are thinking, like, I came in here for a year, it didn't work out, I wasted my time. Well, you
Right.
didn't give it enough time, or you didn't have the right tools
Right.
to use to make sure that you were getting on the right path, in the right direction, if you will.
Mhm.
And even Chevy says that we're more than qualified. I mean, yeah, we are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. In most cases, yes, we are more than qualified. That's right.
Yes. And then again, this leads me into, what I do for clients, like understanding that there has to be somewhat of a visual appearance standard, if you will, or
Mhm.
getting into what is this wardrobe looks like. Because a corporate wardrobe, I find that many women have, and men, some men too,
Oh
have
yeah.
difficulties of figuring out, what am I supposed to be wearing in here? All
Right.
right. And because we were given our personal style when we came into the military, we evolved over all these years. Some folks don't even know what style means. Okay.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
so it's just like trying to, figure that out. But I feel like, when we understand our audience and we understand what they're going through, creating, businesses to capture them, to give them a soft landing, so that way they know, hey, there are some people out here who walk the same walk, put on
Right.
those boots, put on that camo, Put on those bootstraps. We were just talking about bootstraps earlier today. I was like, them bootstraps.
Yeah.
I had seen many of bootstraps get lost, and then we had the cuffing thing going on.
Oh
It was
yeah,
just
all
a
that.
lot of, tight things on our legs and
Right.
imprints and stuff.
Cutting
So,
off circulation. Yeah.
yeah. It's like, so, some folks are having difficulties figuring out like what is it that how they want to appear, how do they want to show up,
Right.
So, and
And
I
Rochelle,
know,
that's so important. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, no,
that was
go.
one of the things that really attracted me to you on LinkedIn as well, because oftentimes, again, with this whole structure thing, you don't know how to show up. And that was for me, right? After doing the 21 years, I knew that I wanted to be a shirt and tie, a suit kind of guy. And that's how I
Yeah,
showed up at Lockheed Martin. That wasn't really the culture. They were more polo shirt, right? But I still did what I did. And I found that my appearance was what got me into a lot of rooms and got me to a lot of tables. But what came out of my mouth when I got to that table was what held me there, right?
yes.
So it definitely matters. It definitely matters how you show up.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
that's what I share with my clients all the time. We have the knowledge, we have the experience, we have it all.
Mhm.
What happens is when they see you or see us in a certain way, and we're not being serious about it. We're not being consistent. We're not truly understanding that we are all visual people, and
Mhm.
they see you and you chose, hey, the coat, the tie as your standard of how
Right.
you're going to go into place. My husband wears a suit and tie every day.
Mhm.
Okay. And he tells me what the dress code and what's going on. And he's like, never mind them, right? Because he's been able to be in rooms, be the one that they go to for, expert advice and all the things. So it does, like you said, it all matters. And so
Right.
we're just trying to help you to be your best. That's all we're
Good.
trying to do, is reach your full potential on all these fronts.
Mhm.
And so Chevy says clients need you both. Well, we here. We're open for
Yeah, we are
service.
definitely here. Yeah, definitely here and ready to help.
Yes. So we are at the top of the hour, and like I already knew where we are going to get into full conversation and so forth. So I do have two things for you. One, if you have anything else to share with the audience in regards to what you do now that will be helpful, please, share with them, some insights before we leave.
Yeah. So we all need that leader, right? Someone who has well, I won't say we all need it, but it's life is so much easier when you have
Mm,
somebody who has already been there. And I'll use this example, even for my wife and I, and we've been together for 36 years, but we have relationships with couples who have been married for 50 years, right?
yeah,
And we still engage with them because they've been there, they know it, right? And it makes it so much easier for us to, and it doesn't even have to be a conversation all the time. It's just watching how they operate and what they do, and we follow suit. And that
hmm,
in turn, it cuts down a lot of the commotion that we could go through if we did not have
that's right.
that beacon in front of us, right? So
Yep.
I say all that to say that with me, it's the same thing, right? I have lived this life for 20 years plus, 20 plus with the military, 20 years with corporate America. I've seen it. I've done
Mhm.
it. I've been a part of it, and I'm willing to share that knowledge and help others to be successful in this space.
Yeah.
If you're going down that path, why wouldn't you reach out and say, hey, Mark, what do you think about this? And I can tell you from the clients that I've worked with thus far, and I think for me, it's just the gratification that I get in helping others. And it still goes back to that whole leader, being a leader and helping others be successful. When my clients call back and say, you know what, Mark, you told me this, and I implemented that, and I'll be doggone, it worked, man. It worked. You did it. I'm
Yeah.
glad you told me that because I didn't think about approaching whatever it may have been in that way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's I'm really pleased when those things happen.
Yeah. So how can they reach you if you have a website?
I do. It's www. Cheeks Speaks.
Okay.
And I can also be reached at email at markcheekspeaks.com.
Okay. So y'all, I'm putting it here and it will show up. Is that right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. So if you are looking for a transition coach, especially if you're a transition from military to corporate, or if you know of anyone who's needing support, please just go to his website and check it out. Email him. And what's the email again?
The email is email at markcheekspeaks.com. And I do 30-minute client consultations just to find out where the client may be, sort of walk through the whole program, the process, and understand if we're a good fit for each other.
Yeah.
And that can be found on my website as well.
Yes, absolutely. So please reach out and then pass along, y'all. He is in Virginia, but we got these virtual platforms, so that is not an issue for us anymore. Okay,
not anymore.
Not anymore. Thanks to COVID. So Glenn Rory is here. He is also an Air Force veteran. He says, "Good evening. Apologies for my late arrival to the Slade Church after party." Okay. And he's got a question for you.
Sure.
Do you help with federal resume development?
No, I don't. I don't work in that space, and I'm glad you brought that forward as well, because I guess I should really talk about what's the best position for me. So, coming out of the military provides the TAP Transition Assistance Program and some other programs that help with resume development and those types of things, and finding jobs. But for me, I am the handoff once you get into the job, right? Once you get into that corporate space, then you sit down with me and we walk through, hey, this is how you make it here, right? This is what you need to do. This is some of the things that you need to build upon to bring success once you get into that corporate space. So no, sorry, not working on the resume piece.
Yeah, that is such a great question. From Glenn Roy, and I'm glad that you clarified that, because that's a lot of this transition, if we will, from federal into wherever people are looking to go to, and a lot of places do require you to tailor your resume,
right?
And I think it's very smart, though, for you to take the approach on, you already in here, okay, you got the job, now let's talk about how you're going to get through this, because no one's going to sit down and tell you, unless you've got somebody who says, hey, like, I'll walk with you and you're going to be good. But many a times that's not what's happening. So if you find yourself in that, then you definitely need to reach out to Mark. And then he said he did TAPS in 2014. It was very lacking. I'm in state regulations looking for someone to help me with developing a federal resume. So definitely need to get into our network system. Glenroy, I'll be looking out for some folks, because on LinkedIn they have several people. In fact, if you are on LinkedIn, just tap me in the LinkedIn Messenger, Glenroy, and there's a whole I think there's like a group of individuals who've created like the Fed Up Chat GPT, where you can go in there and put your information in and they create one for you. That's maybe a good start, but there are also some folks out there that are actually doing it hands-on. But yeah, there's a lot of things in TAP. This again, that's why I decided to do what I was doing, because they said dress for success, and I was like, this ain't it. This, I don't know what we're doing in here, but that's not.
This is definitely not it.
This is definitely not it. This is just the basic 101, and Some folks are just trying to figure that out. Okay, we got you. Um, so my last question in for the evening is one that I know some people are gonna go, what? But there's always a reason by what I ask. So this question is about legacy. Because I feel like at our point in our life, we have more days behind us than we do in front of us. And so, you know, I'm always thinking about my 80th birthday party
Hmm.
and what I want my friends and family to say about me at that point. So I'm always curious as to want to know when my guests are here, what do you think they'll say about you on your 80th birthday party?
Wow, that's a great question. I can, and it's really relevant for me because I just had a 60th birthday party, and my wife threw out. I mean, we had a blowout. I mean,
What?
yeah, like 125 people uh,
Yes,
at this party, and band and DJs and cigars and all the whole nine.
that's
So
right.
I say all that because I had people there from second grade
Mm.
through high school, through Lockheed military, through Lockheed Martin, and all of them, got up and had their 5 minutes and talked a little bit about me. And
Oh,
the the common, I guess, theme was really cares about people and wants to help others, right? And
mhm.
oftentimes we get into this, hey, look at me, and I'm not going to share this because I want you to put me on a pedestal and look at me. I'm not that guy. There is enough for everybody. And if I'm living a beautiful life, I want you to live
Mm.
this beautiful life too. Right. So
Yes.
I am going to tell you, and this is again part of Mark Cheeks Speaks. I'm going to tell you how to get there because this is where I'm at and this is how I got here. So I'm going to share this with you and you take it and you apply it. If you don't want to apply it, you can't say that I didn't share it. But this is where I'm at, and you can see, the fruits of my labor and how I've been blessed.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and share it with you.
Yeah. I love that. And it's something that I always think about as I'm doing whatever I do, because it is the steps that we take each and every day. It's the
Mhm.
summation of the decisions that we make and what is it that we're truly striving to do.
Right.
And so legacy is, so much a part of what we do. And
Mhm.
especially as entrepreneurs in this late in this game,
Mhm. Mhm.
so and Glenroy says any knowledge or wisdom that you do not share is not valuable.
Right. Right.
Mm,
Mhm.
absolutely. That's some really great words, Glenroy. So I just want to thank you all for being here because we at like we be on here. I have it reserved already to 8:30, but sometimes we got to cut this out a little bit earlier because I know it's a Sunday night and y'all are trying to get ready for the week. So Chevy, thank you so much for being here. Claudia, Lindsay, LinkedIn user from Ghana,
Mhm.
global tonight. Donnell,
Global. Mhm.
Rich was here. We also had Todd, and then Glenroy, you showed up and showed out. So thank you so much for you all to be here. For those that come back and watch the replay, put in hashtag replay and let us know what you took away from this conversation. Because I think this was very insightful. And maybe there are some folks that that could use this. So don't hesitate, okay, to go ahead and share and subscribe to the YouTube channel. This show will be put on that channel by Wednesday, so they can look at it. But they can also look at it live here on the page, and they scroll on Facebook, LinkedIn, or on our YouTube channel, y'all. Okay, and so next week we will back here again at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another Slay Amazing guest who is living life on their own terms and helping people by using the slay philosophies. So keep on slaying until you can't slay no more. And we will see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone, and have a great week.
Bye, y'all.